In addition to an internal control framework, COSO has also developed a framework for enterprise risk management. The framework defines enterprise risk management as follows. Enterprise risk management is a process effected by an entity's board of directors, management, and other personnel, applied in a strategy setting and across the enterprise, designed to identify potential events that may affect the entity and manage risk, to be within its risk appetite, to provide reasonable assurance regarding the achievement of entity objectives. Enterprise risk management helps align the risk appetite of the organization with its strategy, enhances risk response decisions, reduces operational surprises and losses, identifies and manages cross-enterprise risks, provides integrated responses to multiple risks, helps the organization seize opportunities, and improves the deployment of capital. A key aspect of enterprise risk management is the identification and management of events that have a negative impact, positive impact, or both. Events with negative impact represent risks. Events with positive impact may offset negative impacts or represent opportunities. The risk management process involves identifying risks, assessing risks, prioritizing risks, determining risk responses, and monitoring risk responses. Everyone in the organization has some responsibility for enterprise risk management. The best-run organizations have a culture of risk management that is understood by every employee. Many organizations assign a risk officer, financial officer, or internal auditor with key support responsibilities. The internal control of the organization is an integral part of the organization's enterprise risk management system. According to COSO, enterprise risk management consists of 8 interrelated components, including 1. Internal environment. The internal environment is the basis for all other components of enterprise risk management, providing discipline and structure. It encompasses the tone of the organization and sets the basis for how risk is viewed and addressed by an organization's people, including risk management philosophy and risk appetite, and integrity and ethical values. The board of directors is a critical part of the internal environment. The board provides oversight over management's implementation of enterprise risk management, helping to make sure that it is effective. Integrity and ethical values help ensure that management and other individuals within the organization are not inclined to engage in unethical or illegal activities. Management sets an ethical tone by action and example, and communicates the tone through codes of conduct and established policies. Management also should avoid the use of incentives and temptations to engage in unethical behavior, unless effective controls are established to prevent such behavior. Other factors that contribute to an effective internal environment include competent, well-trained employees, an appropriate organizational structure, properly assigned authority and responsibility, and effective human resource policies and procedures. An important aspect of the organization's internal environment is its risk appetite. Risk appetite is the amount of risk an organization is willing to accept to achieve its goals. It reflects the organization's culture and operating style and is directly related to the organization's strategy. Some organizations consider risk appetite qualitatively, whether it's a low risk appetite, moderate risk appetite, or high risk appetite, while others consider risk quantitatively, such as in terms of percentages. Risk tolerance relates to the organization's objectives. It is the acceptable variation with respect to a particular objective. Assume a company has an objective of 97% customer satisfaction rating. However, the company may tolerate as low as a 94% customer satisfaction rating. The difference between 97% and 94% represents the company's risk tolerance with respect to the customer satisfaction rating. 2. Objective setting. Objectives must exist before management can identify potential events affecting their achievement. Enterprise risk management ensures that management has a process in place to set objectives and that the chosen objectives support and align with the organization's mission and are consistent with its risk appetite. The organization's mission sets forth in broad terms what the organization aspires to achieve. Strategic objectives are high-level goals aligned with the organization's mission. These high-level objectives are linked and integrated with the specific objectives established for various activities. By setting objectives, the organization can identify critical risk factors, which are the key things that must go right for the objectives to be met. Objectives may be divided into 3 categories. First, operations objectives, which relate to the effectiveness and efficiency of operations. Second, reporting objectives, which relate to reliable reporting of internal and external, financial and non-financial information. And third, compliance objectives, which relate to adherence to laws and regulations. 3. Event identification. Potential internal and external events affecting achievement of an organization's objectives must be identified, that is, distinguishing between risks and opportunities. An event is an incident that occurs or might occur that affects implementation of strategy or achievement of objectives. Events may either be negative, which is a risks, or positive, which is an opportunities, or a combination of both. Risks require a response, while opportunities should be channeled back to management strategy or objective setting processes. Some events may be external in nature, such as those resulting from economic, natural environment, political, social, or technological factors. Other events result from internal factors such as the organization's infrastructure, personnel, processes, or technology. Event identification techniques include 1. Event inventories. This involves developing a detailed listing of potential events. 2. Internal analysis. This may be done at regular staff meetings. It may involve using information from other stakeholders, such as customers, suppliers, etc. 3. Escalation or threshold triggers. Management predetermines limits that cause an event to be further assessed. For example, a company may identify a potential pricing issue when competitor sales prices change by a predetermined percentage. 4. Facilitating workshops or interviews. This technique involves soliciting information about events from management and staff. For example, a facilitator may lead a discussion of events that might affect achieving an organization's objectives. 5. Process flow analysis. This involves breaking processes down into inputs, tasks, responsibilities, and outputs to identify events that might adversely affect the process. 6. Leading event indicators. This technique involves monitoring data correlated to events to identify when the event is likely to happen. 7. Loss event data methodologies. By developing repositories of data on past loss events, management can identify event trends and the root causes of events. Management can also perform black swan analysis, which involves evaluating the occurrence of events that had negative effects and were unanticipated or viewed as highly unlikely. 4. Risk assessment. Risks are analyzed considering likelihood and impact as a basis for determining how they should be managed. Management should assess both inherent risk and residual risk for an event. Inherent risk is the risk to the organization if management does nothing to alter its likelihood or impact. Residual risk is the risk of the event after considering management's response. Risks are assessed in terms of their likelihood of occurring and their impact. Management often uses qualitative techniques to assess risk when risks do not lend themselves to quantification, or when sufficient reliable data is not available to use a quantitative model. Probabilistic or non-probabilistic models may be used to quantify risk. Probabilistic models associate a range of events and the resulting impact with the likelihood of those events based on certain assumptions. Examples of probabilistic models include value at risk, cash flow at risk, earnings at risk, and development of credit and operational loss distributions. Non-probabilistic models use subjective assumptions in estimating the impact of events without quantifying an associated likelihood. Examples of non-probabilistic models include sensitivity measures, stress tests, and scenario analysis. 5. Risk response. In this aspect of enterprise risk management, management selects risk responses that are consistent with the risk appetite of the organization, including 1. Avoidance. This response involves exiting the activity that gives rise to the risk. 2. Reduction. This response involves taking action to reduce risk likelihood or impact, or both. For example, this might involve managing the risk or adding additional controls to the processes. 3. Sharing. This response involves reducing risk likelihood or impact by transferring or sharing a portion of the risk. Techniques for sharing include insurance, hedging, and outsourcing. 4. Acceptance or retention. This response takes no action because the risk is consistent with the risk appetite of the organization. All risk responses must be assessed in terms of their costs and benefits to select the responses that should be implemented. The position that is best suited to devise and execute risk procedures for a particular department is the manager of that department. 6. Control activities. Policies and procedures should be established and implemented to help ensure that risk responses are effectively carried out. 7. Information and communication. Relevant information is identified, captured, and communicated to enable people to carry out their responsibilities. Information is needed at all levels of the organization to identify, assess, and respond to risks. Communication should also effectively convey the importance and relevance of effective enterprise risk management, the organization's objectives, the organization's risk appetite, and risk tolerances, a common risk language, and the roles and responsibilities of personnel in effecting and supporting the components of enterprise risk management. 8. Monitoring. The entire enterprise risk management process should be monitored to make needed modifications. Monitoring is accomplished by ongoing management activities and separate evaluations, such as those performed by internal auditors. Limitations of enterprise risk management. In considering limitations of enterprise risk management, 3 distinct concepts must be recognized. 1. Risk relates to the future, which is uncertain. 2. Enterprise risk management provides information about risks of achieving objectives, but it cannot provide even reasonable assurance that objectives will be achieved. And 3. Enterprise risk management cannot provide absolute assurance with respect to any of the objective categories. Specific limitations include the following. 1. The effectiveness of enterprise risk management is subject to the limitations of the ability of humans to make judgments about risk and impact. 2. Well-designed enterprise risk management can break down. 3. Collusion among 2 or more individuals can result in enterprise risk management failures. 4. Enterprise risk management systems can never be perfect due to cost-benefit constraints. 5. Enterprise risk management is subject to management override.